from born in Edinburgh, a socialist, a workers' leader who fought for the oppressed and the working class, James Connolly. He said, "Our demands are most moderate, we only want the earth." And I think that recapitulates what we're fighting for here today. Humanity is facing a biodiversity crisis, as well as many other crises. Over 1 million species are now threatened with extinction. And since 1970, 60% of all birds, reptiles, mammal species have been wiped out. And this is according to the World Wildlife Foundation. But capitalism is to blame, a system that puts profit over the planet, over workers' rights, over the poor and oppressed. And I think the scale of the crisis is really testified by the fact that this year the Amazon was burning. This conference, with as Greta Thunberg has said blah blah blah, more of the same, is very much true. With Bolsonaro, climate criminal, won't even be here. And that the big banks and hedge funds who are still investing in fossil fuels are increasing their investments won't be challenged. So I think that's why we today need more and more for an international socialist movement. So only that we think that only democratic planning on a mass scale with real investment in renewable energy, in mass transit, and a just transition for all workers is what's needed in this situation, with a retooling, a reskilling of workers. But that will only happen if we build our movement, if we build a socialist alternative, because the capitalist class are guaranteed going to make the poor and the vulnerable pay for this crisis, and they will not retool or reschool workers. That's what needs to happen. We say we won't be made to pay for this crisis. So I'll ask people today that to join us tomorrow at the historic protests in Glasgow, be part of that movement. We're meeting tomorrow. Join our bloc, the International Socialist Bloc. You'll see our red flags at 11 o'clock in Kelvin Grove. But also, if you like what you hear today, if you agree with our slogans or what we're putting forward, come to our rally as well. Don't just stop there. Our rally is at 5:30 after the historical protest against COP26. It's going to be at 5:30 at 67 Hope Street, and this is going to be an international rally. So it's going to be very exciting. We've got a very big lineup of working class activists, of climate activists from around the world, from the US, from Hong Kong, China, from Brazil. So I think people will really get a lot out of this and really talk, and just lastly, I'm going to appeal to people as well, that if you like what you're going to hear today, stick around, talk to us, find out more information, but also help us poster, help us sticker. That's what we're going to do after this, and you can be part of building for a movement that will really change the world. We need real system change, and we need a socialist alternative. Thank you.
It's to expose and speed up problems that already existed. And alongside its immediate effects, we're now seeing things like fuel shortages, threats of food shortages as well, with the supply chain chaos, supply chain breaking down, as well as labour shortages. And this is happening across the world. It is particularly bad here in the UK with the shambles that is the Tory government, but it is, and also the handling of Brexit, but it is happening across the world. And internationally we're also seeing the increasingly heated Cold War between the US and China, with inter-imperialist rivalries ramping up. Here in Scotland, there's another whole crisis for the Tories to deal with people being increasingly fed up with the crap and an increasing mood for independence and the union at threat. So these are just some of the problems that the capitalist class are facing today, and it's becoming increasingly clear that the system today is increasingly unable to provide for our even most basic human needs. And this is the backdrop against we're seeing world leaders meeting these few weeks over in Glasgow. They're trying to be seen as addressing the biggest crisis of them all, the climate crisis. They need to try their best to keep their faces, as increasingly people are seeing through the bullshit. And increasingly people are seeing the effects of global warming on a day-to-day basis getting worse and worse. But these leaders are representatives of the ruling class, the representatives of the capitalist class, the class that caused this whole shitstorm in the first place. and they represent a system for which the bottom line is always the bottom line. A system which relies on ever-increasing consumption for the sake of consumption, producing for profit rather for the needs of the population and the needs of the planet. The money that they are willing to spend on tackling climate change is too little, it's too late. But not only that, because the question is, who is going to pay for this? Where's the money going to come from? And what they say is, these are unprecedented times. You know, there's simply, there's COVID, there's an economic crisis, there simply is no money. You know, there's no money to pay for these things. So, you know, everyone will have to dig deep. Well, we all, the working class, will have to dig deep. That's what they're saying, really. We are the ones who are going to have to pay. And either, you know, they say, you know, oh yeah, we need to be conscientious, we need to, you know, buy the right products, the kind of greenwash products, which may or may not, more likely not, really have an impact on the environment positively. But also through things like tax hikes to fund the transition to a supposedly greener economy under Tory control. And this is all, of course, rubbish. There's plenty of money to go around in society, really. The problem is that the vast majority of it is concentrated in the hands of very, very few people at the top. Since the start of COVID, while we're told to suck it up, we have here in the UK 26 new billionaires, which is insane. You know, we're all struggling to get by, but for the very few people at the top, they're actually doing better. So the money is there, it's the will that is lacking. And while they're sitting on their wealth of money, we are the ones who are meant to pay. Rishi Sunak says if the UK is to reach its net zero emissions goal, then, you know, yeah, everyone's gonna have to pay. There's going to be tax increases for everyone. I don't have the free hand to do the quotation mark around everyone, but, you know, it's us. It's not the billionaires that are going to have to pay. And this money, well, we know the deal where this money is going to go. It's going to be taken from the public funds and be pumped straight into private hands. We've seen it happen over and over again with the Tories getting contracts to the mates. So what we say is that these projects to transition to a greener economy need to be taken under public ownership and run in a democratic and transparent way by workers themselves, because it's workers themselves that are the best, that know the best how their own industries run, how best to do these things. And this will be the first step, but ultimately, if we are to tackle climate change, we will have to take the whole economy into our own hands and run it for the benefit of the people and for the planet. We need to get rid of the capitalist system, replace it with a socialist system, here in Scotland, in the UK, in the whole world. So we should take this chance, this weekend, here today, to start this process, to organise and build the movement for a socialist world. Thank you.
So, if the climate crisis has shown us something, is that we cannot fight this system alone. It is a global crisis that needs to be tackled with an international coordination. No single country, no single state, no single group can solve this issue. And this is not the only issue. We have seen with movements, from the feminist movements to the Black Lives Matter movements, that the importance of international organizing and the power of international solidarity is one of the core strengths of our movements. Only when we fight together, only when we organize together at an international scale, at a global scale, can we truly achieve a systemic change. We have seen this with the movements in 2011 in North Africa and the Middle East. We are seeing it today with the solidarity, with the mass movements in Sudan against the military coup. We are seeing it with the movements in the post-Soviet countries against the dictatorships in Belarus, against the dictatorship in Kyrgyzstan, against all of the different dictators in Latin America and Africa who continue to oppress us and to continue to oppress the workers and the working people and the poor in the interests of a few capitalist elites. That is why internationalism has now become one of the issues of the day. And that is why, with International Socialist Alternative, we are here today with comrades from all over the world. We are here today with comrades from Ireland, from Belgium, from Israel and Palestine, from Hungary, from Romania, from Russia, and we have many more comrades from the United States and from many African and Asian countries who support our struggles, but that could not be here today. We have comrades all over the world, and we have many more sympathizers that are looking to struggles, that want to organize for a real system change and for a real socialist alternative. And it is only when we struggle together that we can put forward this alternative. If the movements of today have shown the importance of internationalism, us Marxists have known this importance for many, many years now. Already in 1848, Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels explained in their famous Communist Manifesto that the working class has no nations. What they meant by this is that in the last instance, the interests of the working class and the oppressed are united in the struggle against one system, one global system of exploitation and oppression which rules our life and which destroys our planet in the interests of a small minority of the global population. So I call to all those that are here and that are not yet members of the International Socialist Alternative to get in contact with us, to come discuss with us, and to join our organization, to come and struggle together for a new world, for a socialist world. Join us. We have a world to win. Thank you.
All those billionaires and all those world leaders that we see them, we see what they're not doing, and we're fucking tired of it. Frankly, the truth of the matter is that the situation in this world right now is so unfair. It is deeply, deeply disgusting, and we are ready to yell about that disgust. The wealthiest nations caused this crisis. The data is undeniable. But who is suffering? Those who had little but to nothing to do with this. The indigenous folks I do my research with have been dealing with the impact of climate change for decades already. And who continues to ignore this urgent situation? The wealthy nations who have all flown on their jets to Glasgow so they can pretend to care and do some performative actions so they can get brownie points when we all know nothing will really change. And that's what we need. Real systemic change. Change that can deliver climate justice and a healthier planet. Let's organize together, guys. Let's rise up. We have the numbers. Let's demand this change. Woo!